John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with our friends. Turn off our cell phones and get away. Night or day, it's John DeSando on the radio. We'll watch the credits from up high. Cinema Classics on NBC.
Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando. It airs Thursdays at 8:01 p.m. on WCBE 90.5 FM. Listen to shows and read reviews online at wcbe.org.
I'm John DeSando,
And I'm Mary Urena.
and this is Cinema Classics. And Mary, 30th anniversary of the Shawshank Redemption.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, and that is listed, as we were talking, listed by IMDb as the best movie ever made. So just to give our audience time to think about that. It's not always the one you come up with, but it is the one that I bet most people like.
I would agree.
Anyway, so your job as a entertainment reporter
Yes.
was to bring us something this summer besides blasts and battles and sci-fi and so on. And so I'm wondering, Mary, did you find anything?
I did, and it is a true gem of movie making, and it is Sing Sing.
Ah, very good. Set us up.
So Sing Sing is based on the true story of rehabilitation through the arts, which is a program that was established by Brent Buell at Sing Sing Prison in upstate New York, or up the river, as that phrase comes from. And it really focuses on this group of men who come together to put on theater productions, both for their fellow inmates, and then they have one show during each show run on a weekend where they invite people in from the outside to see it. But and that's the mechanism to help these men develop the skills they need to manage their emotions, to tap into their emotions and realize that they can be more than what they're being defined as convicted criminals. And the amazing thing is about this movie, I think, is the individual performances.
Yeah.
Because so much of this film, although it's in the setting of RTA and the show that they're the ultimate show they produce, which is called Breaking the Mummy's Code, which is a musical time-traveling comedy, and their relationships and how some of the bravado and machismo that they need to survive in prison is broken down in those moments when they're in RTA, particularly the relationship between Divine G, played by Colman Domingo, and Divine I, played by Clarence Macklin, who is playing a fictionalized version of himself.
Yes.
Because he and 13 other actors in this production are graduates of the RTA program.
Yes. Yeah, there's another program like that, I think in Folsom Prison or somewhere like that. Some
I hope
famous
so.
prison. Yeah,
I
there
hope
is.
so.
It's not the only one, but it is remarkable. And you know, Mary, as you're talking, I'm realizing this is actually what I perceive as a sanitized version of prison life. They don't show anything besides this grand creative act that they have here, and that's not what I understand.
Well, the fact that they chose to focus on this program and the insular environment it created when these men were in that program, I think was the point of the film.
Yeah.
Like you, while I was watching this film and just being drawn in to these men and their stories and what they were experiencing, and ultimately them putting on this show, I was a little bit anxious waiting for the moment of what we think of that violent
Yes.
prison life
Yes.
creeping in, that one of them was going to be shivved in line at the
Sure.
cafeteria
Sure.
or something like that. And it never happened. And I was thinking to myself, shame on me, because that's somewhat of the point of the film, is that we can't judge these men based on how they are in this correctional institutionalization environment, and they're being given an opportunity to be in an environment where they can actually heal and realize they can be more than what the correctional environment leads them to believe.
And hooray for the correctional people that allow this to happen.
Hooray, and hooray for these men willing to actually go back into prison. The exterior scenes are filmed at
Yeah.
Sing Sing. The interior scenes are filmed at a decommissioned prison.
Right.
But in fact, Clarence Macklin, in one of his interviews, said that the cell in which he was shot in his cell scenes was actually one floor below the cell he actually was in during his time in prison. And to credit to the movie makers, they did actually have therapists on set, because these men were willingly going back into an environment and wearing their greens, their uniforms, prison uniforms that they would have been required to wear. And so they actually took care of their mental and emotional health during that process as well. And Clarence Macklin actually said, my apprehensions, I had to set my apprehensions aside because of the message and the importance of this message, which I think, to share with our audience, not everybody escapes from prison like what happens with Andy in Shawshank Redemption. These men served their time and eventually were released. Men who have gone through the RTA program, they have a 3% recidivism rate.
Yes, I noticed it. The other's 60.
And the other is greater than 60% for men who haven't gone through this program. So to show the impact of the arts in helping truly rehabilitate these men is phenomenal, and it does make you wish that this program was available in every prison throughout the United States.
Now, in your illustrious career, were you ever involved in production?
I've been involved in productions, but not in a prison setting.
Well, no, but you have acted, or?
I have not acted on stage, but my sister introduced me to local theater, and I ended up serving on crew.
Right.
For several shows, and so it does become a community when you're doing that.
Listen, I wanted to say, I acted from grammar school up through college, and always felt it was probably the best example of cooperativeness that I ever saw in my life, and I still think of that. You want to know what it is to cooperate with people, put on a production.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the reasons I think I stayed to watch this credits scroll. Not only because I think I sent you the article a couple of years ago, whatever, about how this person was exhorting people to just stay and read that. And I do, just to pick out locations and so on, but also because my granddaughter does that. She's an attorney and she vets those scrolls. So she vets all the people on there. So she does pay attention to that. But I do just as a kind of honor. And then I look at I couldn't count the number of people involved in filming any movie. And that's very much a part of theater. So I guess a long way around by saying I know a few activities that bring people together as well as that does, gives you a feeling of accomplishment, and actually effaces mostly your ego to be just happy to be with a group of people who have put together something that finally is in front of an audience. This is an amazing thing.
It is an amazing thing, and it's collective community storytelling,
Yes.
and everyone's experiencing the same thing at the same time. And speaking of coming together and setting egos aside, something interesting that the creators of this film, who are Clint Bentley and Greg Cuidar, along with producer Monique, get her last name correct, Monique Walton, is they intentionally made this film where everyone received equal pay. And the
Good.
only differential in their pay
Good.
rate was the amount of time that they worked. And so, and then they all got a share of the profits. So go see this film so that these people can profit from their work. But the thing that did was it made everybody an equal partner in telling this story on film, which it isn't normally the way films are made. You hear of astronomical salaries that a
Sure.
star like Coleman Domingo, following
Yeah.
Rustin and his Oscar nomination,
yeah.
certainly could command, but he was all in on this for just standard pay that everyone
Yeah.
on the set, from the crew through the actors, was receiving.
And you can only kind of hypothesize the difficulties, the personalities involved in doing something like this. And Macklin, the best example. I mean, his character defined
Divine Eye.
Divine Eye, right, gives you an idea of how difficult it would be to work with somebody with an ego that has been so damaged as he is, and yet with enormous talent, which he shows us in this. Yes, it's truly astonishing. And one of the things I like as you're talking about that is that they don't hype anything.
No.
Nothing.
I agree.
It's just like, yeah, well, this is what we're doing. We're putting on a kind of funky production, and here's what's going to happen. And Domingo best expresses the difficulty of kind of shepherding this thing. Although we do have the guy from who is the director.
Yes, played by Paul Raci. He plays the real life founder of RTA,
Yeah.
Brent Buell.
Yeah.
And Paul Raci, you may remember, was nominated for a Best Supporting Actor award for The Sound of Metal. And he actually has appeared on stage in Columbus as part of a Deaf West co-production with Capco of American Buffalo.
Oh,
So I have seen him live, and he always does wonderful work, and he's really tremendous in the role of Brent Buell
yes,
as well.
very, very good. Stands out from them. There are very few white guys in this.
There are.
Right, and so he comes in kind of diminutive, but he even writes, I think, doesn't he, much of this?
He does, and that is true in real life. The
Yeah.
original productions that they do,
Yeah.
Brent Buell is predominantly the writer. I think the thing that's important, though, is they never present Brent, who comes into this group of men of color, as the white savior.
Exactly.
He is part of helping these men be front and center, and not only putting on the production, but using the arts to help break down their interior barriers and discover that they can be more than what the correctional institution and the judicial system is telling them that they can.
And I think it was felicitous that we had at least one white guy, that big gentleman, that older gentleman in this.
Yes.
Yes. So I thought that was, if it wasn't true, it was a very good balance.
He was actually one of the
He was, good.
graduates of the program.
All right, Mary Arena, people have to go to our podcast, and it's called Double Take, and you have to go to wcbe.org to the podcast experience to hear more about this. So Mary, right now, what do you advise?
I would advise that you should go see this film in the theater if you possibly can. It's currently showing at Gateway and AMC Easton. But see this film. It has become my favorite film of the year so far.
And mine. I'm John DeSando.
Cinema, 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 cinema. Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with